Aloha and welcome to Challenge Accepted, a podcast where every week we challenge each other back and forth to a new movie or show. I'm Thomas and I'm here with Frank.
Hey everybody, today we're going to be talking about Agatha, episode 3, Through Many Miles of Tricks and... Oh no, I messed that up already. It's a good episode though. What was it? Tricks and Trials, that's what it is. My handwriting was messy, y'all.
I was like, you're doing it. You're doing it, Billy.
You're doing it. I'm rooting for you, Frank. I'm digging this, this whole trial of the witches and seeing each of them really flourish, and then this one was the alchemist, right? What'd you think of this episode?
Gosh, this episode was so fun again. This show, I was not expecting to be this entertained by it and this hooked. But man, when the end credits hit, I'm like, what? That's it?
Oh, right? Yeah.
Right? Didn't it just fly by? And yeah, I didn't think it would be so interesting to see how the different coven have different specialties and how the different trials are going to go. But it's so entertaining, man. I love this show so far.
And there's something there where it's able to mix this kind of, there are humor moments when you have Mrs. Hart who's just wanting a drink, when you have the legit horror moments. There were some actual horror elements thrown into this episode, and that lore building that we're having not only in Marvel but in just kind of this witchcraft world. The idea that like, oh, you guys don't have magic, well, we could use literally witchcraft. And I was like, oh my god, that's cool. I never thought about that. So it's really cool to expand this lore. And then when you dive into the Marvel lore, which we'll talk about later on, I think we might have some answers to who the big bad is for this. And it was reaffirmed in this episode too. So pretty excited.
Yeah, definitely. I wonder if we have the same one in mind, because that's the part where
I'll ask right now. Was it the rabbit that you're thinking of? Who's probably the big bad for this whole thing?
Ooh, no.
Okay.
That's not who I was thinking, but I mean, but the name did come up in this episode. Yeah. We saw Senior Scratchy. We saw some metal. You know what though? Let's get into the breakdown, because you actually kind of might be winning me over a little bit on that. Yeah.
For those of you guys who know the Scratchy's name. Okay, here we go.
There you go.
Let's do the breakdown here. I'm getting too excited. All right. So we start off with Agatha kind of re-explaining the road to the Coven and what each of them want. So first off, let's go over that real quick. Lilia, she wants her divination skills. Thank you. Alice seeks to see what happens with her mother. Jen wants to reclaim her bound magic, not just the witchcraft things. And the teen wants Agatha's powers, and Agatha wants the Darkhold. The Coven, including Mrs. Hart, who's just hanging out, they start going down the road, and they're shocked when Mrs. Hart kind of goes off to the side. And then they suddenly find this cool beach house. They enter the beach house, and suddenly, boom, they're in beach house attire, and it's like totally Monterey Bay.
Yeah, Christina called it Connecticut casual.
Connecticut casual. Yeah, if you go to Monterey Bay too, Big Little Lies, it's that.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
So as they're going through this, they are poisoned by a wine that they're all drinking, except for the teen, and then they need to quickly find the antidote, and that's where the witchcraft. The witchcrafting part kicks in, and they have to make this potion. So they're all going to go off to find ingredients, and this is where it becomes kind of a video game where you're trying to solve a puzzle with time on the clock, and they all start to interact with their own fears. And specifically, we see Agatha confronted by her son in a crib, possibly, but it's actually the Darkhold, and we learn that Agatha sacrificed her son for the Darkhold, which is so Agatha. The hallucinations are a problem, but eventually they get towards the end and they bring everything back. And the teen is needed because he's the only one that's not tainted by this poison. And he adds his blood, and then boom, they find the solution to it, and they suddenly this oven door opens up. They have to climb through the oven door, which is crazy. And I like how all of a sudden they're like, do we really have to go through that? And the windows break and water starts rushing. Like, yes, we do. And they go through, and that's the episode, really. Instead of starting my timer, I added a minute to it. Not the first time that happened.
Oh, that's right. You have like 10 seconds as of right now.
And unfortunately, Sharon, Mrs. Hart, did not survive the episode. And I just throwing this on the top of this. I posted in the beginning, like right away, I'm like, I am so here for Mrs. Hart. I posted that on the Challenge threads, and fast forward 1 hour, I'm like, no, por qué?
Right. And now, I mean, even just like the few hours that posted it up, people are like, whoops, like celebrating, you're rooting too soon. Although what's even funnier is last week when we were talking about it, you had said she's only on the billing for the first 3 episodes.
I know that. I caught that too. I was like, that's right.
I know. So it's like, you kind of knew the answer there the whole time, but this episode is just moving. Like, we're back on the road.
Fast.
Yeah, and like we're learning who the characters are just by the way they bicker and everything. Something that you can credit the first. I mean, you can credit in all kinds of stuff, but sticking with Marvel, if you get the first Avengers, the reason why you're so excited that they all work together after the Chitauri come down is because they're bickering on the helicarrier, right? Like it's like they're not getting along, they're not a team, but at the same time, you're kind of learning their personalities and what they want, and that's how this episode starts. And I thought that was so well done. Agatha, again, to your point, is very much still a villain. Doesn't care about anybody. She just wants what she wants. And like the teen is adorable, and everybody else has their own things. And then Mrs. Hart just got invited to the worst party ever.
I honestly, I mean, I hope that there's a chance. No, I think that this show's going to take death seriously, and she's done. Mm-hmm. Do you think that they'll do the old school Marvel thing and bring her back at some point?
Yeah. I hope at the end she at least gets to come back. It wasn't her fault. She just got invited. Like, it's kind of messed up actually that she dies at the end of this. Yeah. So seemingly. So I hope at the end she gets to come back. I think if anybody deserves it in a Marvel thing, it's definitely her.
I like to throw out one, Hail Mary theory per episode. Here's my Hail Mary theory. By the end, we're going to see that she's comfortably in the afterlife with Mr. Hart, who we've learned has died since the events of WandaVision, and they're hanging out together. I recently watched Beetlejuice. I have a feeling we're to get that vibe at the end of this thing, where she's like hanging out with Mr. Hart.
That's pretty cool. Okay, on that note, then I'm on board with that. I think that's pretty awesome.
I hope she's dead then.
yeah, I hope she's dead. It'd be great. No, I mean, there's like certain characters that have moved on, right? Like T'Challa has gone to those afterlives. Yes. Moon Knight.
A lot of them.
Yeah, then Thor, Anna, what was her name?
Oh,
amazing actress.
Son of a gun. Yeah, but I know who you're talking about. Let's just go with that.
Jane Foster.
Exactly.
Right. She goes to Valhalla. Yeah. So there's obviously
Heimdall's there too, by the way. I'll just throw that out there real quick. I forgot. Heimdall's there too with her.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So you're right. Like it wouldn't be the worst thing ever if she got her happy ending in post life. So yeah. Okay.
Well, cool. And let's think about who's probably at the end, who's in the afterlife of this area. Can you think of anybody who would be in the witch's afterlife that we're hoping to see by the end of this series?
I mean, Mephisto is where I'm at.
He's probably there, right? So maybe like he's there, he's introducing himself, and Mrs. Hart's over there having a glass with Mr. Hart. I think that'd be great.
There you go. Okay. Why is she in hell, though? Hopefully she's not in hell. Yeah.
I don't know if in Marvel there is heaven and hell. I just think there's afterlives. So if it's an afterlife of Witch's Road, it's probably hell.
Yeah, maybe. So also on the Mephisto note, this is the first time we had all the theories during WandaVision, but it's the first time actually in show that we've got someone saying Mephisto. And Jennifer Hale says it to the teen. Are you on the side that it is still Billy Maximoff, or are you thinking it's Nicholas Scratch?
I think it's Nicholas Scratch.
You think the teen is Nicholas Scratch?
I think it's Scratchy, the rabbit. Yeah. I think it's Nicholas Scratch. Yeah.
So I'm still conflicted, and I almost feel like it's a red herring. So there's just too many similarities. I went on this deep dive of Wiccan and Speed after that premiere, and I was reading a bunch of comics, and I was looking into the Young Avengers history, and like something about it still feels very much Billy to me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. And I really feel like that now that we got, shout out to whoever wrote us on Threads that was like, or maybe it was TikTok, that was saying, hey, maybe it was a protection spell from Wanda over Billy so that Agatha couldn't hurt him. If she has that information, knows it's Billy, then maybe she might try to kill him. So I don't know, but I almost feel like it's a red herring. I don't know if I believe it's Nicholas Scratch yet.
If it is, I am. So after 3 episodes, I am more on board with him playing Billy than ever before. I definitely think that he can handle that role in a very strong way. That being said, with the Salem 7, which is Nicholas Scratch's children and her grandchildren, I like the idea that they're like trying to. This whole time we're thinking they're trying to stop Agatha. What if they're trying to stop their dad? And then what if he doesn't necessarily know? Like he's getting revenge for being sacrificed for the Darkhold, and that's. Yeah,
that would make so much sense. Why in episode 2 they're actually chasing him. They're not really chasing Agatha,
right? And they go down to the basement because he goes down to the basement. He's the first one to go down to the hole.
That's right, huh? All right, I'm kind of split, but I don't know. I still feel like I want Joe Locke to be Billy Maximoff. So but I wouldn't. I'm not against your theory. I'm kind of on board with it. I just like want him to be Billy Maximoff now.
And I'm totally on board with that too, because this kid's got so much talent, and the way he's playing alongside these other actors in this particular episode, I do like to call out like, oh, I like you better with the eyeliner, but I like your hair this time, or something like that. He just does a good job of kind of playing off his environment with his other cast members in a way that I think he's kind of a glue-like character, which would be really good for the young Avengers. You know? Yeah,
absolutely. And he is like bonding these people, and he knows so much. He actually knows too much. It's something we also like threaded earlier, and I'm like, man, he knows a little bit about everything. But they show up in this house, and it's on a beach, and all of a sudden he even says it. He's like, so is perpetual night like as a vibe? Or I don't know exactly
how Gen Z is that.
Yeah, it was so, but it was just perfect, and it was really funny. I dug that. But they walk into like a sunshine on a beach, beautiful house. He knows, Lilia Calderu calls out the phases of the moon, and he's like, it's the water phase, and so like he knows so much, and all their clothes change, but it's a complete opposite look of the underground of the Witcher's Road dynamic, and so like I like that they put them in this like light and bright environment, and that kind of like kicks off the trial.
Why did the environment change for them?
I think that's a good question. Do you have a theory?
I'm thinking it might be Mrs. Hart's afterlife, because there's a lot of wine there.
Interesting.
It's very much, I just got to give the vibe thing for her. I could see her wanting a place like that. Yeah, to me, it kind of feels like the kind of perfect place. And then, I don't know, if we were to see her later on, I wouldn't mind her being like stuck in that house. I again watched Beetlejuice recently.
Right, right. But
yeah,
it's making me think like Beetlejuice, though. You're right. Yeah. Like, okay, the way their face swells up is like, whoa, that's kind of out of nowhere, and then it just goes
Practical
away.
effects on that, by the way, that was really cool.
That was pretty wild to see that look. It was so over dramatic and just way overdone, and I thought that was great. But she also says like, I would die to have this kitchen. Like, yeah, so she obviously loves that. Maybe you're right. Gosh, dang, you always come with like so much insightful stuff for the show.
They're random theories, and I'm like one of those speculation websites like Hyper Robot or whatever, and I'm just like, if one's right, that's the clip that gets made, guys.
There you go. That's right. Yeah. We might have to do like a new Rockstars, like every theory we got wrong. And like,
oh no,
crow on it. Yeah,
I'm over here saying like, in WandaVision, we're gonna get Mephisto.
Yeah. I know, but we did. We finally got that announced. So like that's crazy. And I feel like if anything, that was a nod to the fans, but also like Jennifer Hills is telling the teen, hey, what happened to her son? She did have a son. Maybe he was reborn. Maybe he's a demon now. Maybe Mephisto is using him. And I'm like, dang, they're really digging deep into the lore of Agatha Harkness, and it's just like filling in this information that just kind of adds these little character moments. Meanwhile, as they drink the wine, I kind of like tried to decipher as much as I could from the label. From the wine. And so if you look at it, it's called Reina. It's a Rioja. And below it, I don't know how to say this, so sorry, Spanish speakers, but it's like, let's see, Paradora en la Propiado. I don't know how to say that. I'm sorry, everybody out there.
It sounded fancy.
Yeah. And so deciphering that, it says the queen made on the property of, and then Spain, and then it's like 2016. This Crianza stands for like breeding, or I guess maybe like creations, 2016. I don't know if anybody else has any theories about that, but I was just kind of trying to dig through, because anytime Marvel puts on a label and it's stuck on the label, like the camera was stuck on it for a while, I'm like, there's got to be some hints in there. Yeah.
All right. After this, I'm going to do some Googling. I'm going to figure out what it is.
I'm just going to learn how to say that, because I butchered the hell out of it.
Oh, man. Yeah, so that was a good point. There's all kinds of little hints going out. Is there any other hints that you saw? One of the things that I saw that was like, that's going to be a future thing, was the fact that we heard about the sigil, about the to hide from the witch folk or whatever, that the sigil that's on the arm of, gosh dang it, why can't I remember names anymore?
Wait, the tattoo? Oh, yeah.
Tattoo, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Because they do talk about the sigil too, and this is the first time, because at first you think it's just happening to Agatha, where she can't hear the teen's name, but then everybody can't hear it, and then they have their theories. So that
Yeah.
was pretty cool. But yes, and then we hear the tattoo from Allie or Alice.
Alice, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if that means that because the mom knew that they were cursed, essentially, like the family was going to die. She felt that about her mom, and so ideally that's the case. Why that tattoo's there? So will there be a moment where she can use that protection spell, the ward that's on her, like we saw in the end of WandaVision, to protect them when they get into a harrowing situation? Because maybe because what I have a feeling is going to happen is in each episode, we're going to see the test and strength of each witch individually. This one was definitely Jen's episode. Her alchemy saved the day. So maybe next one is Alice and something happens. It's a rock concert or whatever. And the ward on her arm protects them in a way that whoever the big bad is wasn't preparing for. And it's because Alice's mom was ready for it or something like that. Like I want to see those pieces kind of come together a little bit.
Absolutely. I think that's a great point. So all of a sudden, part of the poison from the wine is that they start seeing hallucinations, but they also know that they have to get the individual ingredients right. And as she's going down, it's like a smoky steam room. I was like, don't go in there. There's nothing good that's going to be in there. It's going to be, and of course it was creepy as hell, but the mom's in there and it was cool. There's little hints as to what's going to be in the next episode in the credits. So in the last credits, we saw Alice's mom, and in this one we get her. And as she's screaming at her, like, I can't protect you, I can't protect you. Now we see that the tattoo is meant to be a protection. She got it when she was 13 in Salem, Colorado. There's all those kind of hints there, which I think is from the comics too. Like New Salem, I believe, was in Colorado.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, I think so. So that was kind of cool, but I agree with you. And if you think about what Alice said in the first episode, she also says, like, I was a cop. What's a cop's motto? To serve and protect. So maybe she is supposed to protect.
She's kind of like the paladin of the group, really, you know, kind of the protector of the group. You have the alchemist, the protector, the wizard who can see the future.
Yeah.
I'm loving it. I want the D&D version of Agatha all along, everybody.
You could make it, right? Isn't that like a thing you could do?
Probably, actually, yeah.
We see that also, like Lilia Calderu and Agatha go off. There's also like some shade that they throw at Jennifer Kale. You know, is your products actually natural? Like
I love
whatever,
that.
right?
Yeah.
That was funny. Yeah. But we also see, and I looked in the credits because I'm like, who is this little girl that Lilia is seeing? Well, if you look at the credits, it actually says young Lilia. So that girl who's wearing that Elizabethan, is that how you
like
say
the
it?
veil and Elizabethan. Right. Oh God, now I can't say it, but yeah.
You said it better than me. In the yellow dress, though, was her younger self. So there's then somebody standing over her who kind of looked like an older, kind of just aging, but what do you call it when you're like mummifying almost? Like decaying witch?
Yeah, I almost thought it was one of the Salem 7, by the way. Salem 7.
Right. Yeah. But then it comes in with the skull. So that was kind of interesting, but it's a younger version of herself.
Yes.
I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on why that would be?
Okay. So first off, to clarify any confusion, they mentioned it in the first episode. She's very old. She's like 400 years old. And so I believe that that's probably in the Conquistador era, which is I believe the 1600s. And so that's probably where she was. That's kind of what the dress looks like. And yeah, was there curse that she was put upon her, and that's like her mother giving her a curse type of thing? We could be having that theme like we got from Alice as well, like it's something inherited. One of the things I want to throw out there, when these hallucinations are going out, they're uncontrollable, but there is a moment right before that hallucination kicks in when her and Wanda are joking about the petroleum in the fake products. She says,
Agatha.
quote, try to save Agatha randomly and like not facing anything, right? And Agatha kind of laughs it off. And I thought, what if she's hallucinating the future because she could read the future? And she's trying to say, like, to somebody in the future, kind of a Doctor Strange thing, try to save Agatha. As in, at some point, Agatha will be the thing that actually does save the witches at some point. What do you think?
Right. Yeah, I agree. It almost made me want to go back to the first 2 episodes and rewatch those to see what other kind of nonsense she was spouting out to see if it led to this episode. But yeah, I did notice that too. And I'm like, oh, what does that mean? It's definitely going to come back at some point and be very important. So I thought that was great. And like, what is her name in real life? Why am I blanking on it right
Patti
now?
LuPone?
Patti LuPone is just like killing it. She, like,
They really are.
yeah, being
She
like the
really
crazy
is.
witch is just like perfect for her. But I just kind of love that. And I agree. I think something about how she's spazzing out, for lack of a better term, is actually going to be a key that's going to help them somewhere down the witch's road.
Yeah, and I'm hoping people kind of remember that, or they'll do probably the flashbacks to it. It's one of those things. Speaking of D&D, where I'm a DM, so a lot of times I'm kind of setting things up for the guys. Like, oh, the bartender says he gives free sodas to this kid, and then like later on, that was literally a point like they had to mention the free sodas to be able to get passage and stuff. So I'm kind of feeling that that's what's happening in this show. That we have to pick up all the clues, and we're going to need them later on down the road because this is basically an adventuring party heading down the road.
100%. I want to also know, it also says Lilia's Maestra that was above young Lilia in the credits. And then also Jennifer has like a weird hallucination too, where it seems very much in the past, but she sees a doctor, like an old timey doctor who like used to experiment on people, and she starts talking to him and he tries to drown her.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting thing too. I'm trying to think of like what he actually says to her, but it just seemed like kind of out of nowhere. He just starts trying to drown her.
I want to reference back to, I love how right now what we're doing, guys, just so you know, is we're kind of like just bouncing ideas off of each other. We're doing this very live. It feels, totally. This is how two geeks talk when they're just having dinner or something like that. The character poster for Jen is her in a surgery room, right? Or something like that. It's like the vibes with the lighter above her. So maybe something with her past where she was a failed nurse or like a nurse that was tortured by the doctor, something like that. In every one of these cases so far, the paternal or the authoritative figure in their young life was abusive to them. So now I'm thinking, was that the case for Agatha? Who would have been over Agatha abusing her if that's something that comes up? Which actually her mom did try to kill her in WandaVision. So maybe that's the case.
Right. Yeah, there's something about like the generations and how they kind of treat, the newer generation and maybe the trauma they put on them. But I agree. I think there's something there to it. I'm very curious to see what else happens to Jennifer, because you're right. The interesting thing, though, in the character poster is it seems more modern day, and that scientist looks very much in the past, like,
Sure.
The 10s, the 20s, maybe. So I don't know. There's some interesting stuff. Also, if you turn on the captions, as Lilia is she snaps out of her hallucination and Agatha sees her, she says like, we're going to die. They're all going to die. But she says it in Sicilian. So if you read the caption, it's Sicilian.
Nice. That's cool to hear.
So very cool. Like, I don't know if that's a nod to her as like a person and she's actually like Sicilian in real life, or if it's just trying to tie her history back to like old Sicily.
So I'm trying to find the right term for it. Let me just look it up a little bit here. But it does remind Romani. That's it. That's the correct term for what they are. But that is probably a Romani thing then, because I think they were in that region a lot, and the fortune telling aspect's very big a part of their culture.
Yeah, absolutely. So all of it was cool. Like, you get to see some of their past, how those hallucinations, what they have to overcome on the road. They're starting to mix this potion up now. Like the time's ticking, they're throwing all these different ingredients. The one thing that's missing is the blood of somebody who's not poisoned, which happens to be the teen. I want to just call him Billy at this point. I'm just going to call him Billy.
All right, you do that. I'm going to call him Nicholas. I'm just saying.
Okay. I'll know who you're talking about then. But he has to steer with his dominant hand counterclockwise. I love the joke where she's like, left. Yeah.
So
because how many people? There was a split second where I was thinking about it too. I was like, okay, like this. And
that's
okay,
why I got to picture the clock. Okay, do that.
To steer it. So I thought that was awesome. But also, like, you don't see modern day potions being done in like movies and shows usually.
Yeah.
So I liked this whole concept. Like, I'm going to use the sink. That has petroleum in it. Is it natural? Is it not? All that stuff was great.
Yeah, it was a cool way of bringing in like the old visual of these like big cauldron and all the witches, and she's even mentioned like a Eye of Newt or something like that, one of those kind of gimmicky ones, but modernized where they have that thing that heats up the water. They have all these different very modern feel.
The sous vide was smart. I was like, dang, Nick. And just the way they did it too. They could have easily said, "Oh, this is a heated sink," or "The water's hot," but to for Billy to have this instrument, like, oh, my parents used to be like this, gets the temperature perfect, which is like really smart, because even Agatha calls her out for it. Like, you didn't think about that. And there's a solution, like an in-universe solution. It's like the writing is really tight in this show, and I love when that
without
happens.
overdoing it though. The writing's tight, but still letting the actors kind of let them breathe a little bit. There's so many times,
it's like a subdued reason,
but also like letting the face tell some of the story too. One of the moments that I wrote down, and I actually threaded it out. I hope that's the right term, guys. Please, I hope thread catches on enough for me to just say threading it out. But anyways, somebody, they were asking her questions and they're about to enter the beach house, and Agatha says this: we should stop asking that question. The face, guys, go back and watch it. I'll try to clip it if I can. The face on Catherine Hahn, it's so many things behind it. Does she know what's going on? I think she might. Does she know she's walking them into a trap? Does she think she could survive it? Like, she's doing a great job of kind of creating this multiple layers behind her where we're not sure what her motivations are. It was very well done. And it was just she just said that line and they kept the camera on her for a second. I'm like, I'm glad they did that. I'm glad they let that happen.
Yeah. What was the question in terms of where she's like, oh, we gotta stop asking that question? What the question was?
It was something along the lines of like, why is this here? Or, something like that. And she's like, basically saying like, you're going to see a lot of things you don't know. And so she says, we should stop asking that question. Like, you're going to see a lot of things and there's going to be a lot of curveballs. I mean, I'm presuming Agatha, and this is the other thing I have a theory kind of cook it up a little bit. It's on the back burner over here, guys. Agatha has actually never walked down this road. I kind of think that might be the case, because when they asked her, like, what's the road like? And then she kind of bobbled a little bit and then answered. And so I wonder if she's kind of making it up as she goes along. I'm not sure.
Oh, that's a good point. Man, that would be cool. Because you're right. They're kind of looking at her like the expert. Because like, you've already done this. But maybe she's just playing it up like she's done it, but she actually hasn't. That's a good point. Man, that would be an awesome like end of the season, or like towards the end of the season kind of twist, where it's like she actually hasn't done it. She doesn't know any more than you guys know, and like you guys have been led with this person who's just as blind as you guys are. That'd be good. I'm on board with that.
Theories upon theories, guys. That's what we do around here. Yep.
But that's what you know what though? This show is doing that, and it's doing it well. And I like that. It's been a while since we've had like all these theories for a Marvel thing, and they feel like they were padding out. And granted, we don't know what's going to happen down the road, but it is like still captivating, and we're getting enough teases for things to kind of be filled in. Later on, Agatha gets her own vision, and we had already heard in the beginning that Jennifer had said like maybe she did give up her son to a demon for the Darkhold, or for the Book of the Damned. And we see as Agatha hears the baby crying, she goes over to the crib and opens up that blanket, and we see the Darkhold is in there, and she's terrified by it. Man, I love like how everything leads to the next thing. Yeah, and
I wonder. Okay, so say there's some sort of shortcut in that she had to give up Nicholas for that. I just don't know how that works. Does that mean she brought Nicholas with her down the road the first time? Could Nicholas survive a building like this as a baby in that crib? There's all kinds of questions to why that would work out, and I can't wait for that to be unraveled as well, because just as she had to have a coven, right? Because they talk about how they needed a coven this time, so she must have killed her coven the first time when she did it.
Yeah,
like she plans on doing with this one.
Right. Like if she really did walk the road, then you're right. Like she needed to sacrifice her coven or whatever. Right. But also to bring it back to one of the trailers we got that Marvel released, there's like a demon in there, and it's like a full on like Satan looking, horns coming out, big wings demon. Like that could have been the moment where she gives up, Nicholas to the demon for the Darkhold. So I don't know, but yeah, it makes me wonder if that's Mephisto, or if that's just some lower level demon, or a version of Nicholas Scratch or something like that.
And that's probably why she's bringing the teen. Actually, now we're thinking about it, is there's something that the teen has that the baby had, that she plans on bringing the teen along to be the sacrifice at the end, like the baby was too, so that she could whatever.
That would be a good twist, where all of a sudden she can't give him up because this is the son she gave away. And now it's like, oh, I was going to sacrifice you, but now I can't because you were like the biggest mistake I ever made.
Okay, so real quick on that, just to kind of back up my side of things on the Nicholas thing again.
Okay.
Think about this tune in your head, guys. We all loved Agatha all along. #1 on the iTunes chart. get ready for the remix, Nicholas All Along. It was Nicholas all along. And then we see that Nicholas was behind everything for this series and maybe even was Senior Scratch in the last series. Like we could have that play along where it was actually Nicholas all along that was fooling with everybody. Like that would be such a blast to see them toy with that idea.
That would be cool. I'm on board with that. I wish I watched some of Joe Locke's other work so I knew.
I'm going to after this, that's for sure, man.
Totally, right? Because you're like, can he be that evil one? Because right now he's sweet, he's charming, he's kind of bringing the group together. He's just like so positive. But yeah, if he can make that twist where you're like, oh my God, he's so evil and actually can be that Nicholas Scratch. So do we want to get into like some of the history there? Because I feel like we've mentioned this character a lot now, but I don't feel like we've really like talked about who they are in the comics.
Okay. Yeah. So I got some stuff up here I pulled up for Nicholas Scratch and his kids. So he's, obviously the son of Agatha Harkness. He's also a major villain for both Agatha and the Fantastic Four. He's a very powerful sorcerer, just like his mother. He has a deep resentment for his mother and her decisions to align with the heroes in the end of the day. So in this case, I would say just align with the Darkhold, essentially, kind of switch over that.
Yeah, or maybe even Wanda, like he sees it as maybe she's attached to her in like a way that's not, they're not enemies. They're maybe kindred spirits or something.
Yeah, that's true. He does lead a group called the Salem's Seven, which we already seen in the series, and those are his descendants. They're descendants of both Agatha and him, of course, and they are devout followers. So that's kind of washes out my theory as well. In the comics, Nicholas and the Salem Seven often plot against Agatha, leading to various conflicts where he seeks to dethrone her and prove his own power. Take her place. So if she's going to go for the Darkhold, maybe he wants to take the Darkhold instead and dethrone her for the Darkhold.
Right.
Common comic book thing.
Yeah. I was just going to say, maybe this is what you're leading into. Later on in the comics, though, after they realize that he's the one that kind of stole Franklin Richards, brought the Fantastic Four to New Salem that was kind of hidden, the Agatha basically, pleads her case to the Salem Seven, and they end up taking away his she takes away his powers, but then they kick him out.
Okay.
Yeah. So we could be there already.
And a lot of his motivations too that I really like is the fact that he feels like because she keeps siding with good people, her heritage is being betrayed. So he's like, you're bad for our bloodline essentially. And I really love that long, and with this so far we've already seen with like those paternal and maternal figures really being a problem and abusive in the past. It would be fun if that kind of what was going on with Joe Locke as well. And each of the Salem Seven had different abilities, and specifically with this one, I would call on Hydron, has the ability to manipulate water and has various water forms and stuff like that. So with the water outside the windows and stuff like that, I could see like that was the one. And maybe in every episode we have another one of Agatha's grandchildren that are messing with these trials and things like that. Could be hampering them.
Yeah, that's a great theory. I'm kind of on board with that. I'm curious if there's like one about the serpent, because I know one of the kids is a serpent. One is like a tornado, I think, that can like
vacuum is the tornado. Vertigo is disorientation, obviously. Yeah. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I wonder how many trials are actually going to be in the show. But yeah, that's very much there. Also, that also makes me kind of want to like maybe go against it. I think by the end of it, I think Agatha is going to be kind of a hero, or at least not a complete villain. And I think that this could be an opportunity to really align with where she's at. She was this powerful witch. She's already interacted with Wanda, but knowing that we're getting the Fantastic Four maybe next year, like that could easily be an end credit scene for Fantastic Four, where she knocks on the door and comes in, and like, the Fantastic Four has Franklin and Valeria there, and they're like, man, we really got to find someone to watch him, and then knock on the door, and she's there.
I would love that so much.
Great. Yeah. And then also if she's at the end too, if she helps bring Wanda's spirit back and she reestablishes them, and Joe Locke is Billy, now you have like her last witch that went out, that last blast at Wondergore went out, Billy's reincarnated, Tommy's out there somewhere, and now you have that connection too. I don't know, I'm like, that's why it could go either way, but I could see cases for both, why it could be Nicholas Scratch and why it could also be Billy.
And somebody on TikTok, I can try to figure out who it was. I don't remember. Anyways, but we keep hearing about Blackheart through Aubrey Plaza's character from Rio. Blackheart is also a name of one of Mephisto's kids. So there's also that too.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah. But I mean, I love how this episode ends too. They bust out or like go through the oven, all fall through in the slide. I was like, do you think that they got stunt people to like fall into each other, or to like one of them
actually for some of them especially,
right,
Patti LuPone's not going to do that.
Yeah, well, it looked like her though, but yeah, probably not. But then Agatha doesn't know her name is Sharon the whole time. They are like, Sharon's dead. She's like, who's Sharon? Is such like a great button to end the episode on. Even though it went fast, I just love that. And then boom,
I was really hoping they were going to do the Jerry from Parks and Rec thing the entire season. Like the whole time they keep calling her Miss Hart, and she goes, "It's Sharon, guys." I was hoping for that,
Like they could talk about another Parks and Rec reference though if they kept that going. That would be incredible. But and then it's like right into the yeahs with "Off with Her Head." I thought that was such a cool kind of mic drop. It was like the button of the joke right into like that song. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on why that song?
Oh man, I don't really have a theory on it actually. I'm just writing notes while the song was going on. What do you think?
Oh yeah. I think it has to do something with someone's going to lose their mind the next episode, or somebody is going to be decapitated in the next episode.
Oh man, if you're right, then we're going to be super paying attention to these songs. Okay. I like that theory.
Because there's been hints as to what's coming next in the credits for every episode. So that's where my mind instantly went. It's such a that song, even though it's kind of newer, it's like when you hear it, you're like, oh yeah, it's a jam. Like the lyrics are very powerful. I don't know. There's something about that where I'm like, somebody is going to either just, maybe it's the Lilia Calderu episode. Maybe because she's like spazzing out, losing her mind. Maybe the next episode.
Oh yeah, lose her head that way. I like that idea too.
Yeah, you're losing your mind. I don't know. I think that could be a possibility too.
That's a good one too. The last thing I want to kind of a shout out or a goodbye to our Mrs. Hart here. Her hallucination. I don't think we actually got a visualization of it, but we did get an audio cue for it, and it was so sad and so beautifully done. And it's her repeating the line from WandaVision episode 1 when Mr. Hart's choking and she says, "Stop him. He can't breathe." She's pleading to Wanda to stop the choking.
Stop it. Stop it.
So she was reliving that moment in her hallucination. And
really? You could hear that?
You heard, that's her. She was saying that line in Agatha All Along when she started hallucinating, and she's the first one to do it because she's the first one to drink the poison. And it was just like,
wow.
They didn't do the visuals for it, but the line is so distinctive to me, especially since we just got done watching WandaVision. I was like, what a brutal hallucination for her to have. That's her greatest fear, is her husband's death and being stuck in Wanda's, torturous trap.
Right. Wow. Good catch, man. That's awesome. Dang. Yeah, that's such a callback, and that's like definitely fan service for anybody who watched WandaVision. Yeah. It also shows that she's not some other secret witch or whatever. Like she really was just that person that was trapped. No. That's why it's like maybe you're right. Maybe she gets the happy ending in a sense in the afterlife, but it's like so sad. She was just gardening, and Agatha was like, "I need you. Come here." And then she
want to come to a shitty party.
Yeah. And her first mission, basically, she almost gets sucked into like the dirt and the mud, and then like drinks wine, gets her face all blown up, has this terrible hallucination, goes through the oven, and then dies. It's like, that sucked.
It was, and I just love the character too. Have you seen any of her on the red carpets?
No, I haven't.
It's been great. So Deborah Jo Rupp, she's on the on the red carpets a lot right now, and it's always like, well, I normally do sitcoms. Of course, a lot of people know me from that '70s show, and so this kind of thing's so big for me. Like she's so excited to be a part of like a Marvel thing. Like they got a lot. Yeah. Wow, look how nice his carpet is. Like it's just so delightful. I was like, I'm rooting for you.
I know. Totally. And I mean, I definitely am rooting for her too, but it's like, yeah, I think to your point, she probably does just move on to the afterlife. But I love it because like the internet was fully saying like, that's what is her name in that '70s show? I'm completely blanking. Kitty. Yeah, I was like, I just see Kitty, and I fully see it too. She's just like Kitty on an adventure, on a magical adventure.
Especially with the wine in this one, it was like, oh, that's so Kitty.
She had the best jokes, like slamming it down before anybody else like even pouring a glass. She's like chugging hers. Like it's just it's so good.
That reminds me, her character poster is actually this episode where she's drinking the wine. So maybe
really?
the character posters hint to the passing of each. I don't know. We'll just throw it out there.
Oh yeah. Or maybe it is their passing or their big episode too. Well, I guess Jennifer Hale, we'll find out a little bit more, or Kale, we'll find out a little bit more later on down the road. But yeah, it's a good one, man. This one flew by so fast, and that ticking clock on it really put stress on me. I was like, oh my gosh, are they going to be able to figure this out in time? It was, man, that was a great touch in this episode.
This show, I was talking to Squeaks, who's one of the many Marvel fans right now who are like, not for me. I'm not going to bother with it. A lot of people are saying that, and I'm not judging them for that. That's just how they are, and I understand that. Right. But I was telling him I really am loving this show because it's so refreshing. And for someone like him who complains about the Marvel mold that gets used too often, this is breaking. This is not in that mold at all. It is completely out of the mold. And I'm having a blast with it. And I already want to watch the first 3 episodes again. And that feels very fun to have a show that's that good. So
totally. And it just feels like there's so much you can catch. It's like they're doing it so well. And I think you're very smart to kind of bring out some of the comparison to Beetlejuice. Like there's like this weird, like they were doing some weird things in this and it works. Like Beetlejuice got away with some crazy stuff in it and you're like, where is this coming from? But it just, sandworms on Saturn and like all kinds of different like afterlife things and silly stuff, but it still works. And, but they're doing it in this way that still connects you to Marvel things that you love as well. And like building out the lore in an area that I didn't think we would get, really building out the magic side of things, what it can do with Doctor Strange in the future, what it can do with bringing Wanda back or introducing like her kids, Billy and Tommy for Young Avengers. There's just so much they can do with this. And I'm just surprised and having a blast.
It's a blast. I'm enjoying it too. But let's kind of get back to Challenge Accepted as a whole. So we have Hangovers, our next movie we're going to be doing. That movie's review is going to come out next week. We have a lot going on this week, obviously, with this. And you have Transformers 1 you're going to be doing a bit on, and we got Penguin 2. There's a lot going on, guys. That's the other thing, too, is instead of reviewing every episode of The Penguin, I'm sure you caught it in the first episodes, too. This is a grand story that's going to be best developed over time. So we're going to review it as a whole at the end. So, but we'd love for you guys to share your thoughts on The Penguin. Already very, very impressed with that series. So it'll be good to follow along with that.
100%. Yeah, there was just 2 kind of sleeper hits this week. I'm like, whoa, where's this coming from? DC's firing, Marvel's firing. It's just like, man, it's a great time to be a geek. This is just like such an unexpected week. And then we're going into like fall season. Like these shows are just hitting at the right time.
Looking at, we always do the retrospective every year. And looking back at this is going to be the year of TV shows because, man, just to kind of throw it out there, guys, we had Shogun, and like, that's how we started things, and it's just been boom, boom, boom ever since then, So totally. Yeah. Actually, I'm wearing the X-Men '97 shirt again, of all things, of course. But like, man, what a banger, So,
man, yeah, it has been an awesome year for TV. Awesome year on the other side of things, like for video games too, and movies. It just hasn't seemed like it's been a hit after hit this year, and not every year can be like 2019 or 2018, I guess, but yeah, TV is just wow. It's been a House of the Dragon was awesome too. It's been killer. So we'll see how these things end. I'm very optimistic about this show now, and very optimistic about the Penguin, and I just can't wait to see how both these shows end.
Yeah, same here. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for hanging out with us, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Aloha.